with anything, of course, especially with technology, when you want to try something awesome for the first time, it usually does mess up. And of course, that is something that happened today. I don't know what happened as far as the connection. I think it like disconnected and then connected a few times. But nonetheless, here we are. You can see me. What's up, Frank? What's up, Crystal? Hello, hello. Let me know if everything is good. Give me a thumbs up. Started pretty darn soon. Got some exciting things to discuss, some things that people will be able to use on a daily basis, and probably hopefully this isn't frozen, and you guys assume that it is. Nonetheless, if it's not, then I guess Katie Rose, hello, hello. All right, so let me go ahead and show you guys here a very useful tool, which this is a little community that I created, and you'll see it here in the bottom corner right there. Yep, still getting used to this. And what it is it's called Discord, and I've made it something that you could use as a resource. Bigger here so you can see. I call it my close friends community, and here you can go ahead and see how many members there are. There's about 142 people in there now, humans, and 9 of which are robots. Aside from that, there is also discussion. We got a spot for new traders where they can go ahead and have their particular discussions and discuss how what trades they're doing, what things they're doing to better themselves. Click on this here and there's recent news. So this is more of a resource than anything. I do have a section that's rules and disclaimers as far as the community, as well as the gold over here. You can actually go and then guess what? You can learn stuff. So before I want to go ahead and looks like the screen is frozen. Technical difficulties. I think maybe it's my internet connection acting up like a mofo here. Of course, on the one day that I want to share, buddy. But nonetheless, I'm gonna continue, and hopefully, if this records and saves well, then people will be. Oh boy, oh boy. All right, well, might be my internet connection over here. I don't know what it could be. Broadcast keeps getting interrupted. StreamYard or Believe TV. All right. Well, nonetheless, I'm going to continue. Before I go ahead and continue with the actual lesson, I guess you could call it, I do have to read a disclosure. All the information I provide on this live is for educational purposes only. I'm not a registered investment advisor, and the information provided does not constitute investment advice. Any stock discussed during this live by me or anyone in attendance is not a solicitation to buy or sell that particular security or market instrument. Please make use of a skilled research as well as guidance from a licensed advisor if necessary. As always, past performance is not indicative of future results. And it's completely frozen. That is not good. Well, that's exciting. Well, there's not much I can do to fix this. Completely frozen. Broadcast interrupted. Still lagging. Oh, that's not good. Mm, mm, mm. All right, I think it's starting to pick up there. There's obviously a delay, but at least I think you guys will be able to hear me from now on instead of it freezing out. Nonetheless, so let me continue here. So as far as definitions, there's some important things that you guys should know. So grab a piece of paper and pen so that you can write these particular definitions down. One of the main things you wanna you go ahead and learn when you're learning about stocks and charts and all these things are, that there's a bullish or a bull, and the reason why they call it a bull is because a bull, you got to think about it, when they charge somebody they go up. So that just refers to a strong market of stocks moving up, and it's specific to a position that a trader might be taking sometimes. The other one is a bearish market. So think of a bear and how he strikes down. So that's how they strike with their claws. Um, in doing so, you'd think that a market being bearish means that it's going down. Some other key things that you'd want to remember are, day trade. So the word day trade is when a trader places an opening and a closing trade um, on the same stock in the same day. So, if you went ahead and you bought Snapchat in the beginning and then sold it at the end of the day, then that's considered a day trade. And you have to be careful because if you do too many day trades, they can label you as a day trader, and then your account gets banned for a few months or so. Um, but there's other rules to that, so you want to make sure you look at it and read all the information depending on what platform you're using. Um, Dividends, of course, are things that people always wonder about stocks. That's just basically, uh, for anybody who's a shareholder or anybody who actually owns the stock, what they do is they get paid holders, which are the people that buy the stocks. Um, Another key term that you'd want to remember is ROI, or return on investment. Uh, Whatever profit or loss was generated by that investment in relation to the invested funds that you had with that particular stock. Um, Another big thing that a lot of people have been getting in on but don't really realize it are things that are called pump and dumps. So pump and dumps are investment schemes where untrue statements are made to the public about a particular stock, and then that artificial price of the stock, which makes it go up quite a bit. And then obviously if it's gone up quite a bit, then people are going to want to buy into it, and then they're buying into it, and everybody's buying into it, and then what happens is people end up selling off that particular stock and taking their profits, and then the people who bought at a high price and um, now it's dropped are kind of stuck with it, and unfortunately that's just the truth of the world. The other thing that people want to remember are things that are called limit orders. So a limit order is the ability to buy or sell a stock at a specific price or better. A buy limit order can um, can only be executed at the limit price or lower, and then a sell limit order can only be executed at the limit price or higher. It also isn't guaranteed, so you got to be careful when you're placing these because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. A stop limit is very similar to features of a stop and a limit order. And once a stop is reached, it becomes a limit order. So basically, think of it this way: like, you say, okay, this particular stock is gonna, it's probably gonna drop and hit $5, but then after it hits that $5, it's gonna skyrocket up to like $7. So what you can do is you can go ahead and put a stop at 5, and then your limit will exceed $7. And essentially that's just you locking in profits of $2 or so. Stop limit is similar as well. It's just something that follows um, a specified amount, and once it's reached that particular price at a peak, or below a peak price, it sells for above the lowest price for buys. Um, so the other thing I wanted to mention too was ask. So there's a thing called an ask price, and you got to think about it this way. Like, ask is the price that people are asking for. It's the lowest a seller is willing to accept for a particular stock. Is the highest a buyer is willing to pay for a particular stock. So you have your ask and your bid, and then you have your in between, which is kind of like their ask minus the bid. And these particular things are things that you want to always realize that it's a buyer's and a seller's market. So people will go ahead and if you say that you're trying to sell a particular stock, let's say stock ABC, at $5, um, then that's what you're asking people to take, well, asking people to give you for that particular stock. If you are then looking for that particular stock, then what you want to do is you want to bid on it. So you're going ahead and you're saying, I'm willing to pay $4 for that same stock that you're trying to sell. And sometimes what happens is some people will go into the market and realize that there's an ask and a bid, and they'll set their price kind of in between. And then that same person who was trying to go ahead and buy that stock for $4 is like, oh, okay, somebody has it for $4.50. Let me buy it off of them instead of the $5 that this other guy was asking for. Um, when you start going into things that are called options, that's really exciting, and that's actually my favorite type of trading. Um, so when you're ready, you'll find out about things that are called calls and things that are called puts, and we'll kind of go a little bit more detail with those when you guys are. But I don't want to overwhelm people, so I want to go ahead and kind of start here with um, Trendlines. Now, one great book I'd like to go ahead and recommend, I'm going to put it in the chat actually. It's called Sticky Stock. Charts is awesome because what it allows you to do is it allows you to learn how to draw trend lines in a very simple way. So look up sticky stock charts so that you can learn. I actually learned on sticky stock charts with pen and paper, and I actually prefer pen and paper. I just use this sometimes because I mean, it's technology and it works. So as far as trend lines are concerned, there are things called uptrends, which I'll just kind of draw on this here real quick so you can see. So we have things called uptrends. So uptrends they start at trows, which the trows are these little things here that are almost like opposite of peaks. These things are peaks. These are peaks. So think of a peak as the top of a mountain, and then the trough is kind of like the opposite of the top of the mountain. It digs deep, or highest lows. And what you'd want to do is essentially to get a trend line, you only need about 2 troughs or two peaks. So you would go ahead and you'd start at 1, and then that goes through 1, and then you would just want to confirm it with a third one, but you don't have to. You really only need 2 to kind of start it. So you can technically go ahead and do this. But there's also outside trend lines. So what your goal is to do is to go ahead and find the best indicator of where this particular thing is going. So this right here is considered, I guess, an outside trend line. Boom, you can mark that. Then you want to go ahead and mark the other one here. And then there's also downtrends. So downtrends would start at the peak, and then you can do another one here, for instance. Now this is Wayfair, and right now I'm on. These are some important points, of course, that should be covered. With these, you can select 1 day, 5 days, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Um, and right now this is set on 30 minutes. So let's say, for example, we were to switch this to 5. All right, so it seems that my computer is frozen there. I seem to be having some technical difficulties as far as the internet here in this home. There's probably a bunch of people on the Wi-Fi. Who knows what they're doing? Alrighty, that is taking its time there. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and go over some things. So, you already see trends, you see the downtrends, but there's also things that are called sideways trends or neutral. And essentially, what that is it's whenever supply equals demand. Wow, that chart looks all messed up now. Well, so what it is it's whenever supply equals demand. We're gonna move that, and it's frozen, it's acting up, and we'll bring up the little community here that I have, and we'll go into the investing lounge. Um, some key points I wanted to talk about with trend lines are, you know, they help you figure out when things are pacing up or if they're starting to end and losing steam. They help you anticipate reversals or lock profits, pullbacks or corrections. So, when you're using trend lines, you also want to go ahead and use these things that are called support and resistance lines. Now, support and resistance lines are things that, like support is going to be up here, and then a resistance line is going to be down here. And essentially, how that works is it allows you to figure out when something might drop below a certain price, because you have to think about it this way. If something goes up, it must come down, or vice versa. Uh, and you want to go ahead and use these resistance lines to help provide you with better indicators, um, that can make things obvious, or not obvious per se, but at least give you some insight on things that will be better. Whenever you are looking at, um, which the candlesticks are those lines that go up and down on the chart. Um, they look like candlesticks because they're squares, and they have like a little line poking up through the top or through the bottom. And that tells you a bunch of information. Now, when they're longer, those are actually better to determine, support and resistance as well as trend lines. So definitely keep that in mind as well. Um, Honestly, this probably would have been a little bit better for me to discuss if there hadn't been some technical difficulties, but we live with what we live with, and I'm gonna go ahead and try to make this better as I go on. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and provide you guys with these resources here. So I'm gonna put in the chat the link to this particular community that I have here. It's free, so you can access all this information here for free. There are some videos and options videos that you can watch, and I would recommend starting at the top here and watching all these videos. These are videos that I watched to help educate me on option trading. There's also basic trading terminology. Go in here, you can scroll to the top, and I literally filled this up with definitions, things that are useful as far as learning what the terminology is in the stock market. So for instance, here's one: earnings per share, EPS. Definition is a portion of a company's profit allocated to a person's share of the stock and is a major metric for analysts. Market cap. Market cap capitalization is a measurement used to classify a company's size, which can be categorized between small, medium, or large cap, and is based on the market value of the total shares outstanding. So, I put all of this together and organized it, and yeah, it's a lot of information, but it's definitely something to look at stocks and learn more about, um, how to invest and things of that nature. So I'll go ahead and put that link here now. Let's do that into the chat. And that's something that you can join. Like I said, it's completely free. You just go, it's bit.ly /Mr. Then Discord. And when you enter, you can go ahead and go right into the Learning Center, it's called. Scroll down and click on basic trading information and just start learning away. If you do have any questions, feel free to DM me. I know this wasn't necessarily the best live. It didn't come out how I wanted it to come out exactly. But like I said, we gotta live with what we're living with. Sometimes technology does what it wants. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. For those of you that did tune in, I see you guys: Dash, Eric, Kevin, Carlos, Pete, Amber, Emily, Crystal, Frank. Shout out to all of you guys, Katie. We'll try to go ahead and we'll update these so that people can interact with me, and maybe I gotta get a better router or whatever it is, but today the internet in here was not the best. Like I said, we'll go ahead and continue this, and let's see here. So the chat is good. All right, so there's nobody here to ask any questions. I do see you guys are still online, but if you did have any questions, feel free to send them over to me. In the meantime, I'm going to go to end credits and appreciate you guys dearly.